Hello and welcome to the Moscow Arena for the first of the semi-finals in the World Series of Boxing Season 4. Russia hosting Cuba in leg one, with Cuba taking the Russians to Havana in 2 weeks' time. A strong team fielded by the Russians, some newcomers from Cuba. In the first bout of the night in the light flyweight division, one of the big stars of the Cuban team here to try and seek revenge for Russia beating Cuba here in week 8 of the competition. Yozbani Vaitia up against Belik Galanov. And the Cuban in a brilliant form. 7-0 win record throughout season 4. Having no trouble whatsoever in commanding this opening bout of the night. So important for the Cubans to get off to a good start, and it was mission accomplished for Yozbani Vaitia, taking the first of the 5 bouts and giving Cuba the early lead. It was a reverse in the second bout of the night in the bantamweight division. Vladimir Nikitin of Russia, one of their established stars from season 4, up against the newcomer from Cuba, Norlan Yera, just 22 years of age from Havana, making his debut. And some people very surprised at the Cuban team bringing rookies to the semi-finals, and Nikitin making sure from the get-go that he dominated this fight with some hard-hitting, brutal punches to both the body and the head. But a clash of heads halfway through the bout nearly brought the Russians' challenge to an end. A heavy, deep cut to the left eye had questions asked on whether the bout should continue. It was a good decision by the race referee, because Nikitin went on to dominate the rest of the 5 rounds, and even with the huge cut to the left eye, took the second bout and levelled the scores after 2. Another one of the big stars in action for Cuba, Toledo. Yanye Toledo up against Maxim Darashev of Russia. Toledo, an Olympic bronze medalist from the London Games of 2012, showed his skill and tenacity against a tough Russian competitor, an opponent who seems to be growing in confidence. But Toledo's skill and speed of hands gave Cuba another win in the light welterweight division, and to go 2-1 up at the halfway point of the competition. Shebotorev up against Lopez in the middleweight division of the competition. The Russians had to win this middleweight bout to stay in the competition, to stay in the fight in this first semi-final. And Shebotorev is one of Russia's top middleweight boxers, a 3-0 unbeaten record in the WSB, and the Russian in the white shorts brimming with confidence after an impressive win in the quarterfinals. But Lopez, another newcomer from the Cuban team, put in some superb punches. But in the 5th and final round, both boxers let go with some explosive punches and combinations. But it was the consistency of Shebotorev, who had won rounds 1 to 4, that gave Russia a much-needed win in the middleweight bout. Lopez, well, turned a few heads and impressed many, but he was not good enough to stop the power of the Russian middleweight. A dramatic finale to the most important bout of the night for Russia. And so the first semi-final to be decided in the last bout of the evening, the heavyweights. The Russian Tishenko up against the star of Cuba, Savon. Savon is ranked #1 for the WSB in the heavyweight division for this season. And Tishenko, a rising star in the heavyweights, but already in the early exchanges felt the might of the right hand of Savon. Of course, the Cuban's father, 3 times Olympic champion, 6 times a world champion. Savon often caught in the shadow of his great father, but tonight he did Cuba proud, delivering the most important win of the night to give Cuba the 3-2 victory they so desperately wanted, having been beaten here in Moscow last month by the same score, but to Russia. Savon takes the win for Cuba, and Cuba win the first semi-final 3-2.